one of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time.
When you're the greatest fighter of all time, they don't call you the greatest fighter of all time. They call you George St-Pierre. He is the greatest MMA fighter of all time. There are no black clouds hanging over his legacy. There are no asterisks. There are no PD infractions. The only two losses that he ever suffered in his career, he later avenged. He's a two-weight world champion. He walked away the first time as welterweight champion. He walked away the second time as middleweight champion.
What does it take to be considered the greatest of all time? The warrior instinct was learned when he was bullied as a kid.
Tell us about the bullying experience.
Well, the bullying, it's everyone in life face obstacle, and that's what made me who I am. I don't regret to have been bullied, because probably if I would not have faced those obstacles, I would not have been the man that I am. So it made me stronger in a way, and it helped me to forge the person that I am right now.
George got his start in MMA by fighting in the UCC. George St-Pierre was the fastest learner, the hardest worker. If you are that committed to something, the sky is the limit. Firas Zahabi.
Under Silvio Barry, great fighter here. But George St-Pierre is just such an athlete. C'est parti mon kiki. Tout d'abord là. Et voilà, c'est fini. Oui, monsieur, on lance ça dans la foule. Get out of here now, because he's just covering up and like hoping for the best of it. George is looking for the armbar. No, Justin needs to roll out of this shit. As soon as that arm gets loose, he needs to roll the opposite way and get out of there. His arm is locked out. Justin Front just tapped. That is it. St-Pierre wins with a beautiful armbar. The jiu-jitsu fighter got...
To get by, he had to work late nights as a garbage man. He got his UFC debut on January 31st, 2004 against Caro Parisian at UFC 46 in Mandalay Bay Event Center, Las Vegas. When he came to the UFC, you could tell there was something special about him. He was a step ahead of his opponents at all times. GSP dominated every phase of the game, standing up and on the ground. George wins this fight by unanimous decision. GSP then went on to fight Matt Hughes at UFC 50 in October 2004. George would lose this meeting with Hughes due to an armbar submission in the last second of the very first round. This was his first loss of his professional MMA career. But George would of course not stop there. He went on 4 fights in the UFC before his rematch with Matt Hughes. Those 4 fights included fights against Sean Sherk, winning by TKO in the second round, and tough BJ Penn at UFC 58 in March 2006. George got poked in his right eye in the first round, causing him difficulties to see, bleeding out of the same eye and busted nose. In this fight, GSP was a purple belt versus Baby J's black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. George dominates second and third round, winning by a split decision. In a lot of ways, he was the perfect fighting machine. Jiu-Jitsu, striking and wrestling. He truly was a master martial artist across all disciplines. By UFC 65, there was no more complete fighter in the UFC than GSP. On November 18, 2006, at UFC 65, George got his shot against Hughes once again, and his left high kick was the beginning of the end for Matt Hughes in their rematch. He would then go on and face Matt Serra to defend his belt for the first time. Serra stunned St-Pierre with his right hand in the first round, getting him hurt, finishing him, dropping bombs from the half-standing mount position.
Three-time champion of the world!
George would regroup and fight his way back to the top. On his way to vengeance, he fought Josh Koscheck at UFC 74 on August 25, 2007 in Las Vegas. Both fighters taking each other down in the first round. In the second round, George was looking for a submission from the half guard, trying to finish Koscheck with Kimura, earning his BJJ brown belt prior to this fight. GSP would go on to win match by unanimous decision. Up next came Matt Hughes for their third and last time at UFC 79. This meeting was a complete domination by George, finishing Hughes by an armbar submission. After regaining the title, his eyes were set on one man only: Matt Serra. In their second fight, St-Pierre went right for the takedown. The defining moment of GSP's career was getting that win back against Matt Serra. It was in Montreal, the crowd was crazy. In his rematch with Serra, it was a one-sided affair. Finishing him with knees, while Serra covered up in the turtle position down on his own knees, 16 seconds before the end of round 2.
This is back. 20 seconds remains. More knees by GSP. George
After that, the explosion of Canadian MMA started.
Welterweight Champion.
After beating Matt Serra, the whole MMA world knew that the GSP era had begun. Defeating fighters such as John Fitch, BJ Penn in dominant fashion, Carlos Condit in a bloody war, while Anderson Spider Silva watching closely live in the arena. GSP would win by unanimous decision. He also won against Nick Diaz at UFC 158 in March 2013. George had Nick's back most of the first round, maintaining great control. Many takedowns by GSP ending in Diaz's guard, denying any offensive jiu-jitsu attacks from the bottom. St-Pierre would go on to win by unanimous decision. On November 16, 2013, George fought his most controversial and fiercest competition yet, Johnny Hendricks. GSP wins by a split decision in this very close bout. After the fight, George announced something that would shock.
Away for a bit, and that's all I can say right now. I can just get punched a little bit and everything, but later on I'll make a point on that. Right now I gotta go away for a little bit.
He would stay in retirement for 4 years. He would then come back to fight Michael Bisping in November 2017.
Thought he'd been abducted by aliens. I'm surprised you're not wearing a tinfoil hat today to stop the fucking messages coming. Dude, I'm gonna hit you so many times you're gonna think you're gonna disappear on the mothership. I mean, motherfucker, let's go. Ain't gonna happen, George. You know, so forget this little romance or this fairy tale you have in your head, because you're gonna get your fucking ass kicked, and then that's that. George is gonna retire.
The fact that Michael Bisping is a bigger man, is the champion, and all this, it just excites me. When people doubt me and tell me that I can't do something, that's what drives me and excite me. That's why I'm doing this.
George finishing Bisping in the last minute of the third round by rear naked choke.
Big elbows from St-Pierre!
George is constantly searching for impossible goal of perfection. He never settled for being less than the best. GSP's legacy is clean and he is one of the best martial artists of all time.
He is the new UFC middleweight champion. Whoa! Oh my goodness! Wow!
GSP would not fight again, announcing his retirement on February 21st, 2019.